The accidental suitor, Flynn Archer, had always been told his mouth would get him into trouble. As Earth's junior cultural attaché to the Galactic Union, he should have known better than to deviate from the scripted diplomatic greeting during the annual Interstellar Broadcast Day. "And as I conclude," Flynn had said, straightening his collar while the floating camera drone captured his message for transmission across 17 star systems, "I hope that our continued cooperation brings prosperity to all civilizations. Though if anyone has tips for finding love in this vast universe, this perpetually single human is all ears. Seems I have better luck negotiating peace treaties than dinner dates." It was meant as a self-deprecating quip, something to humanize diplomacy. His superior, Ambassador Chen, had facepalmed immediately. 3 standard weeks later, Flynn understood why. The Celestian Empire, spanning 3 neighboring solar systems, was ruled by twin matriarchs who had divided their governance after a bitter philosophical disagreement centuries ago. Empress Neria commanded the technological marvel that was the Shadow Expanse, while her sister, Queen Taylor, guided the artistic splendor of the luminous realm. Though they shared a homeworld, they hadn't spoken directly in over 80 years, until Flynn's joke reached both courts simultaneously. "I don't understand," Flynn said, staring at the formal summons that had arrived at the Earth Embassy. "They're requesting my presence. Both of them." Ambassador Chen paced the office, her expression grim. In Celestian culture, to publicly declare oneself available for partnership is to invoke the ancient rite of astral courtship. It's considered a cosmic invitation, one that royalty cannot ignore if they're unpartnered. Flynn blinked. "But I didn't. They believe you did. And now both rulers have accepted your invitation simultaneously, which hasn't happened in their recorded history. Can't we just explain the misunderstanding? That would cause both to lose face before their people." Diplomatic incident doesn't begin to cover it. As Flynn absorbed this information, a second communication pinged on the holographic display. Empress Neria's personal transport was already entering Earth orbit. "Pack lightly," Ambassador Chen advised. "You'll be provided with everything you need in both courts." Flynn swallowed hard. "Both? Oh yes. They're competing for you now, and apparently that means you'll have to spend time in each realm before the celestial choosing ceremony." Flynn stared out the window at the sleek obsidian ship descending through the clouds. "Remember," Chen said softly, "their civilization has nuclear capabilities and strategic outposts along 3 major trade routes. Whatever you do, don't break a royal heart." The journey to Empress Neria's Shadow Expanse took 3 days through hyperspace, during which Flynn alternated between panic and fascination. The obsidian ship, called the Midnight Ascendant, was a marvel of engineering, sleek corridors illuminated by blue-violet light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the vessel itself. Commander Varric, Neria's stone-faced security chief, provided minimal conversation beyond basic protocol instructions. "The Empress rarely grants audiences to outsiders," he stated as they approached the capital planet. "Your quarters will be in the Royal Wing, an unprecedented honor." Flynn gazed through the viewport as they descended toward a sprawling metropolis. Spiral towers of gleaming black material rose through wisps of purple mist, connected by graceful arched bridges. The architecture was both imposing and breathtaking, like a cityscape from a dream. The landing platform extended from the tallest central tower, where a small delegation waited. At their center stood a figure who could only be Empress Neria herself. Unlike the flowing, ornate robes Flynn had expected, she wore a fitted midnight blue uniform with geometric silver patterns that accentuated her tall, athletic frame. Her skin was pale lavender, and her hair, a striking silver white, was pulled back in an intricate braid, revealing pointed ears adorned with metallic cuffs. Most arresting were her eyes, large, almond-shaped, and entirely black, except for flecks of silver that seemed to shift like stars. "Cultural attaché Flynn Archer," she said, her voice surprisingly melodic despite her austere appearance. "You have caused quite the diplomatic situation." Flynn bowed deeply. "Your Imperial Majesty, I assure you there's been a—" "Save your explanations," she interrupted, stepping closer. "They matter little now that the astral courtship has been invoked." The corner of her mouth lifted slightly. "Besides, I find your directness refreshing. Most dignitaries approach my court with excessive flattery and hidden agendas. Over the next several days, Flynn was given unprecedented access to Neria's realm. The Shadow Expanse, he learned, wasn't named for any sinister reason, but for their mastery of dark matter technology, energy harnessed from the universe's most mysterious force. Gradually, Neria's severe demeanor softened in private. During an evening walk through her personal arboretum, filled with bioluminescent flora, she explained her philosophy. My sister believes beauty and art should guide civilization. I believe in structure, innovation, and preparation for whatever threats lurk beyond our knowledge. Her fingers brushed against a glowing blue flower. Yet I too appreciate beauty, just as I appreciate honesty. Even accidental honesty? Flynn asked. Neria's laughter was unexpected and musical, perhaps especially that kind. Her hand briefly touched his, sending an electric current through Flynn's body. Later that night, as Flynn lay awake in his luxurious quarters, a messenger arrived with news that Queen Taylor's envoy would arrive tomorrow to escort him to the luminous realm. The Empress requests you join her for a private dinner before your departure, the messenger added. Flynn realized that beneath his anxiety lay a growing fascination with Neria and genuine concern about leaving. The luminous domain. Queen Taylor's transport couldn't have been more different from the sleek technological marvel that had brought Flynn to the Shadow Expanse. The vessel, named Dawn's Embrace, resembled a living organism more than a spaceship, its exterior gleaming with pearl-like iridescence and organic curves that seemed to ripple subtly as it traveled. Her radiance welcomes you with open heart, said Liaison Marina, Tyler's representative. Unlike Commander Varick's military bearing, Marina moved with dancer-like grace, her gossamer robes shifting colors with her movements. The Queen has prepared a celebration for your arrival. Flynn's final dinner with Empress Neria had been unexpectedly intimate. She'd shed her formal attire for a simpler outfit, and they'd talked for hours about their worlds, childhoods, and dreams. At evening's end, she'd pressed her forehead to his, a Celestian gesture of deep respect, her silver-flecked eyes gazing into his with an intensity that left him breathless. Remember, she'd whispered, appearances can deceive. Choose with wisdom, not just emotion. Now, as Dawn's Embrace entered the atmosphere of the shared homeworld's opposite hemisphere, Flynn witnessed the stark contrast between the realms. Where Neria's domain embraced the night with illuminated architecture rising through mist, Tyler's luminous realm was built into a series of cascading crystalline terraces bathed in perpetual dawn light. Waterfalls connected different levels, catching sunlight and creating countless rainbows. Queen Taylor awaited on a platform woven from what appeared to be living vines blooming with flowers. Though physically similar to her twin, the same lavender skin and pointed ears, everything else about her was different. Her hair flowed freely in copper-gold waves, and her eyes were a warm amber that seemed to radiate light. She wore a gown that shifted between sunrise colors with her every movement. "Flynn Archer," she said, approaching with arms outstretched, taking his hands in hers. "What a delightful puzzle you present." Unlike the carefully structured diplomatic tours in Neria's realm, Taylor's approach was immersive. Flynn found himself participating in artistic performances, joining communal meals and learning traditional dances. Where Neria's people valued technological achievement and strategic thinking, Tyler's celebrated emotional intelligence and creative expression. "My sister believes in preparation for imagined threats," Tyler explained one evening as they walked through floating gardens. "I believe in cultivating joy and connection in the present." She plucked a blossom and tucked it behind Flynn's ear. "Both paths have wisdom, but only one nourishes the spirit." As days passed, Flynn discovered himself laughing more freely than he had in years. Yet in quiet moments, his thoughts drifted to Neria's intensity, her unexpected vulnerability, and the depth beneath her reserved exterior. When news arrived that the Celestial Summit, where both sisters would appear together for the first time in decades, was approaching, Flynn realized he was no longer simply playing diplomatic peacemaker. His heart had become genuinely entangled with both remarkable rulers, each compelling in entirely different ways. The Cosmic Summit, The Celestial Summit would be held on neutral territory, an ancient temple complex situated precisely on the border between the two realms, where day and night perpetually balanced in twilight. As Flynn's transport approached, he saw two processions converging on the sacred grounds from opposite directions. One, a precision-ordered formation of sleek vehicles emitting subtle blue light. The other, a flowing caravan of organic-looking transports adorned with fluttering banners. "The choosing ceremony hasn't been performed in 7 generations," explained Elder Sorin, a respected neutral diplomat who had been assigned to prepare Flynn. "Traditionally, the suitor presents a token to their chosen mate, symbolizing their commitment. Both sisters have prepared gifts for you as well." "And if I don't choose?" Flynn asked, his stomach nodding. Sorin's expression grew somber. The unchosen ruler would lose significant standing among their people. Historically, such rejection has intensified existing conflicts. The ceremonial amphitheater was divided precisely in half, one side featuring the geometric precision and technological marvels of the shadow expanse, the other adorned with the living art and organic beauty of the luminous realm. Representatives from both courts maintained a tense distance from each other, separated by an aisle leading to a central dais where the twin rulers would meet. Empress Nyria arrived first, her entrance marked by a disciplined procession of guards and advisors. Her ceremonial attire incorporated elements of her military uniform, but elevated to breathtaking elegance. A fitted jacket and flowing skirt crafted from material that seemed woven from the night sky itself. Constellations shifting across the fabric with her movements. Queen Taylor entered moments later amid melodic chimes and dancers scattering flower petals. Her gown appeared spun from dawn light and sunset hues, catching and refracting the ambient illumination so she seemed to glow from within. Where Nyria commanded attention through regal authority, Taylor captivated through radiant warmth. When both sisters ascended opposite sides of the dais, the gathered assembly fell silent. Flynn stood between them, acutely aware that his next actions could determine the fate of an entire civilization. "Cultural attaché Flynn Archer," announced the Elder Sorin, "you stand before the divided heart of Celestia. Today you must choose which path our world shall follow through your union." Nyria stepped forward first, extending a small obsidian cube that projected a holographic model of Earth's solar system with astonishing detail. "I offer knowledge and protection," she said, her voice carrying throughout the amphitheater despite its softness. "Together, we would forge an alliance of strength and innovation that would advance both our civilizations." Taylor approached next, presenting a living crystal that hummed with harmonic tones when Flynn's emotions shifted. "I offer connection and growth," she said warmly. "Our union would bridge cultures through art and understanding. Healing ancient wounds." Flynn looked between them, seeing not just two potential partners, but two halves of a world that had forgotten they were meant to complement rather than compete. In that moment, he understood why his diplomatic superiors had been so concerned, and why this misunderstanding might actually present an unprecedented opportunity. "Before I make my choice," Flynn said, his voice steady despite his racing heart, "I request permission to address both courts." The sisters exchanged surprised glances, the first direct acknowledgement they'd shown of each other, before nodding their assent. Harmony's resonance. Flynn stepped to the center of the dais, looking out at the divided assembly. Diplomatic training had taught him to choose words carefully, but never had so much depended on his ability to communicate across cultural divides. "People of Celestia," he began, "I came to your world through a misunderstanding, a joke about my romantic solitude that accidentally invoked your sacred tradition. Yet in my time among you, I've experienced something extraordinary. 2 visions of the same brilliant civilization, each magnificent but incomplete without the other." Murmurs rippled through both sides of the amphitheater. Flynn turned to face Empress Nyria, whose expression remained carefully neutral, though her star-flecked eyes betrayed curiosity. "Your Majesty, in the shadow expanse, I witnessed innovation that could transform galaxies, protection that could safeguard countless lives, and beneath your reserved exterior, a passion for your people that burns like the core of a star." He then turned to Queen Taylor, whose amber eyes shimmered with emotion. "Your radiance in the luminous realm, I experienced beauty that nourishes the soul, community that strengthens the heart, and wisdom that recognizes how connections between people create meaning beyond mere survival. Flynn took a deep breath, reaching into his pocket to withdraw something he had created during sleepless nights, a pendant formed from materials borrowed from both realms. Shadow matter technology, encasing a living crystal, creating an effect where light and darkness dance together in perfect balance. The astral courtship tradition speaks of choosing between paths, but what I've learned from both of you has shown me a third way. He held up the pendant, which cast prismatic shadows across the dais. On my world, we have a concept called symbiosis, distinct entities thriving together, creating something greater than either could achieve alone. Flynn stepped back, allowing space between the sisters. My choice is not between you, but for you both. Not as your partner, but as a bridge. I choose to serve as Earth's dedicated ambassador to a unified Celestia, pledging to help heal the divide between realms that were always meant to complement each other. A tense silence fell. The assembled crowds held their breath. Neria and Taylor stood motionless, their expressions unreadable as they processed Flynn's unprecedented response. Then, almost imperceptibly, Empress Neria's lips curved upward. "Clever diplomat," she said softly, a note of genuine admiration in her voice. "You found a loophole in our oldest tradition." "Not a loophole," Queen Taylor responded, surprising everyone by directly addressing her sister for the first time in public memory. "But perhaps a window, where before we only saw walls." Slowly, cautiously, Taylor extended her hand across the divide. After a heartbeat's hesitation, Neria reached out as well. When their fingers touched, a visible ripple of energy coursed through the amphitheater, causing gasps from both courts. "The astral harmony," Elder Sorin whispered in awe. The legend spoke of it, but none believed. As the twin rulers stood with joined hands, technology and nature, structure and freedom, shadow and light finding balance, Flynn knew his accidental courtship had catalyzed something profound. The path ahead would not be simple. Centuries of division couldn't heal overnight. But as representatives from both courts tentatively began to mingle, exchanging curious glances and hesitant greetings, Flynn recognized the beginning of transformation. Later, as twilight deepened and celebration replaced ceremony, both sisters approached Flynn together. "Ambassador Archer," Neria said formally, though her eyes held warmth he'd only glimpsed in private before. "It seems your diplomatic skills exceed your romantic ones." "Though that remains to be seen," Tyler added with a musical laugh. "After all, our world's history is long, and your assignment as ambassador has only just begun." Flynn smiled, realizing that while he hadn't found romance as the tradition intended, he had discovered something perhaps more valuable, a purpose that might heal worlds, and two extraordinary friends who saw different facets of the same universe. Under the light of twin moons, as shadow and luminescence danced across a newly unified court, Flynn raised a toast to celestial misunderstandings and the unexpected paths they reveal.